just talk about your time.
I want to talk. I can go high to low.
It all comes down to this. The last month of the year, we've ran the score, and you're up right now, Siege. 13-11 points. Welcome back to Sharp Segments, UFC 323 edition. We are super excited for it. Again, we're going to be covering the main card for UFC 323. We ran the tally. Siege, you're up by 2 points here, leading the last card of the year. First off, welcome back. December, the holidays are coming back. Big fights coming up. Siege, how we doing?
I'll take it, man. No, excited, man. This is a hell of a card to wrap up the year too. So can't wait to get to this one. See, we can, gap it a little bit more, extend the lead a little bit, or we'll see how it turns out.
I'm hoping for a little bit of change. We need it, right? I mean, we're doing it year by year. The points don't carry over. I need to have something big here. I need to have something big here. And so, with that being said, if there is a tie, how do you want to rank it? So I have two different ways. I thought, do we want to do it? The tiebreaker is main events. Whoever called the most main events correctly, or do you want to go the opposite? Do you want to go the first bout of the main card, and whoever got more of those correct win it? So which should be the tiebreaker?
Main event, because I think those are the picks that count most. Those are the big fights. Those are the ones where we should really be showing our chops a little bit there and, prove that we actually know what the hell we're talking about. And all of this isn't for nothing. So hopefully, yeah, but let's go main events. I think that'll be the way to go.
All right, but I have to tie. I have to at least tie first before we even get there. So before we even get to that conversation, but yes, at least we had to establish that in case that does happen. So again, let's get into the first bout. Let's go ahead and get straight into it. UFC 323 in Vegas. We're super excited for it. It's going to be an interesting card. There's a couple of interesting bouts that I'm excited to talk about. But let's go ahead. So in the blue corner, the first bout, you have Jan Blachowicz, the number 5 light heavyweight, against a guy who I feel like we haven't seen as much, but is an not up and coming guy, but a guy who's flying up the rankings. That number 11, Bogdan Guskov. So an interesting bout here stylistically, Siege. What are we seeing here for this first bout of UFC 323?
Yeah, I'm gonna leave the pronunciations to you, bro, because that one was gonna get me tongue-tied anyway. I would have stuck with the first name and left it there. Uh, Fun fight, right? I mean, we have two guys that if you look at their records, they've got some wins on the ground, they've got some wins on their feet. You know, if I had to pick, I would say Jan's history shows that he's a little more well-rounded, because he's not just ending up on top, like he's going for these takedowns and he's mixing it up really, really well. Say his name again, bro. I'm gonna leave it to you. What is that?
Bogdan Guskov.
Boom, got him. Yeah, Baghdad, from what I've seen, he likes to do a lot of his work on the feet. There's a little bit of showboating, a little cockiness, hands down here or there. Dangerous guy to stand in front of and do that with. You do not want to do that in front of Jan. He's had, tough past couple of fights, but he's the former champ for a reason, Even though I will say, and I don't mean to be controversial, but I feel like Jan became champ at a time where it was kind of boring to be champ at light heavyweight, right? And it's not his fault. He has nothing to do with, Jones leaving the division or anything, but the belt passed through a few hands during this era, right? And there was like until we got our Poetan in there, we didn't really have a concrete definitive champ. I mean, yes, you had the belt, but not the guy that you're like, this guy's demolishing everybody, Jan had a lot of great fights coming up and we thought we were going to get that Jones and Jan fight. He left the division. So what? Jan stepped in, did what he had to do, and was just knocking guys out, man, submitting them, doing it everywhere and looking really good. And yeah, this is going to be a really big test, a really big step up. Bogdan, just forgive me, whatever it is. The Bog guy, he's done plenty in other organizations, as most people do, right? When they're coming through the rankings and everything, you're champions of, whatever organizations that most people haven't heard of. But he looked pretty good early on in the UFC, and holding his own. And so this is his first really big test to date. And what an exciting time to do it, because now I feel like the light heavyweight division is kind of in a resurgence right now. There's a lot of exciting things happening. And again, the belt being passed around, but we have our definitive champ once again, so if there's a time to make a statement against a former champ, it's now.
Yeah, no doubt. And so it's kind of an interesting one here. The one how it plays out, right? You have Jan Blachowicz, 42 years old now. But again, the only people he's lost to are guys like Olberg, Alex Pereira. He had the banger against Magomed, right? That got ended up being a draw. And we haven't seen much from Guskov. I mean, he had a big win against Nikita Krylov, and we know that's a big win. That's a huge win. But then the fight I was kind of watching was that Billy Elikana fight. It's short notice. It came interesting, and he got two big wins there. So again, he's kind of a guy riding a little bit of a win streak early in his UFC. I mean, he's 4-1 in the UFC now. Not a guy we've seen all that much fight. I mean, that's a huge jump to fight a guy like Jan Blachowicz right now. I mean, he's still the number 5 guy. I mean, the division still kind of runs through him. I mean, again, if he looked like a gatekeeper right now, whatever that looks like, it's still going to run through Jan Blachowicz.
For sure. For sure. Again, I even with that age, I haven't really seen anything yet that has told me that he's lost a step. He's just had some tough fights, and he's lost some fights to some notable guys. And the odds tell it all too, right? I mean, the odds are still leaning in his favor, even standing across from a new, young, up and rising guy. He's still got some weight behind his name.
He sure does. But does that weight that he carry over into this bout, Siege? Who takes it? Is it going to be Jan Blachowicz, or is it going to be Sharovich in Bogdan Guskov?
I'm going with Bogdan on this one. I'm looking for an upset. I feel like he's been looking pretty strong his last few fights. And I feel like I say this all the time, but the mental aspect is a big part of this whole thing, right? You've heard guys as recently as Usman talk about that. As great as he is and all his accolades, that knockout did a lot. Not saying that that's necessarily it's as severe here, but I feel like riding the wave of what he's been doing so far. Yeah, I'm going to Bogdan.
I like it. And I like it even more because I'm going Jan Blachowicz. So here we go.
All right.
So that is potentially what I could grow on. The big thing for me is that you go back and watch that Billy Elikana fight. Billy almost had him submitted in that first round. And the only reason Guskov was able to get the submission is because Billy Elikana quit. He was gassed, had no energy. I mean, as soon as he got the choke in,
right.
it was tap, tap, tap.
It was over.
It was complete out of it. And you look at Blachowicz, when he knows he has the ground and pound. Look what he did to Izzy when he moved up in weight. Look at the Alex Pereira fight. When he has the advantage on the ground. It could be boring. It could be more of a snooze fest, but that's how Jan Blachowicz could get this victory because of he has the advantage there. And I didn't see anything from Guskov that showed me that, okay, he can maintain on the ground. He didn't have an answer for Billy Elikana. I think Jan Blachowicz, being a high, BJJ black belt, I think he has the advantage there.
True. And his experience could, come into play here too. I mean, he's been in a lot of big, tough fights. And this is, again, it's a big, big step up in competition, but I don't know. I feel like shaking things up a little bit. I want to see if we can go with the upset to start out the card.
I like it. I mean, I love my upsets. I went with the favorites last time. I didn't really love it. It worked out.
Yeah,
But I mean, we called a lot of favorites last time and it worked out. Hopefully we ride with one there. And then this is another close one here. In this matchup between Henry Cejudo, Triple C, the cringe master, making his way back into it, fighting a guy who his stock went down a little bit after, being, shown up on the ground a little bit, but showed a little bit better. Peyton Talbot. This is a really exciting one. Does Triple C still have it? Can Talbot stuff a takedown? What does everything look like? Siege, kind of walk me through this matchup stylistically.
I don't know how I feel about this fight. I feel like this is the fight I was stuck on more than any other fight on this card. You have Peyton Talbot. I understand all the hype. Your nephew, my son, is hyped up about this dude every time he's on the card. And I get it. I'm not really into social media games, so I don't know what he's doing behind the scenes, but I know he's got a lot of fanfare going on. And it's not for a lack of, not for a lack of dominance in the cage. I get that part, but I don't really understand what's happening with him, why there's so many people getting behind him. He's fun to see. He's a good striker. And then you have Henry Cejudo. And again, why I'm stuck on this is because Triple C doing what he did and having those wins. I really feel like when he decided to take a step back And whether that was a negotiation tactic or whatever it is, it proved to be a terrible tactic because he didn't get Dana to budge. He took all this time away, and you don't get better by staying away. I'm sure he was training or whatnot, but I feel like ring rust was a real thing when he came back. And it's not like he came back, he lost, okay, and he just, took it on the chin and then kept going. It's like he's been super inactive since coming back. I think once a year since 2021 or something like it just, and if he's been fighting more than that, I just haven't seen it. But I feel like he just hasn't been around doing anything. And when he was dominating and, you know, he was able to, pull off that upset against DJ and doing all these things and getting, multiple belts and multiple divisions, it's when he was being active. And it kind of felt like he took a step back and the division just went on without him and everybody just kind of surpassed him. And I kind of showed, right? He came back and he had that fight with Aljamain where he was pretty much dominated. He had the fight with, Merab, straight up dominated, which who saw that coming? An Olympic gold medalist in wrestling getting dominated, basically grappling, right? I mean, he can't really say he was taken down, beaten up necessarily, but he was dominated handling the grappling exchanges. And so bringing it back to why I've been so stuck on this fight, because the only time we've seen Peyton in trouble was when he was basically taken down and not necessarily strangled, but he was dominated on the ground. You would think Henry coming in, that's what should be happening, but for all his wrestling accolades, I feel like Henry's game plan of strategies is never really wrestling heavy. And so I feel like if you want a sure thing, you're going to come in here and wrestle the shit out of Peyton. I don't think he's made enough strides in that area to fill in that gap that we saw when he fought, the Brazilian, forgot his name now, but it was so obvious that it's like, oh shit, this dude doesn't know what he's doing on the ground, and that dude that he fought, even though he was known to have a ground game, he wasn't known for his dominance on the ground. It was just a part of his, his overall strategies coming in. But before we get to that, what do you think about it? What are you seeing with that fight? I don't really know if I said anything outside of I'm stuck and this is why I'm stuck, but
It's all right. It's all right. I'm kind of in the same boat because we just don't know what we're gonna see, right? Because I mean, Henry Cejudo. So it's tough because he hasn't looked the same, but you look at who he's fought, right? Aljo was the champ. I mean, he's a backpack master, whatever you want to call him. I'm not crazy about him, but he does do his job very, very well. I mean, it's Merab. Merab does that to literally everybody. I mean, we haven't seen anybody that Merab doesn't do it to. If he's doing it to a Nurmagomedov, he's gonna do it to everybody. So that's that one. How much weight does that carry? The Song Yadong one was an interesting one. I mean, Yadong just his hands look so good. He looks so fast. I mean, it was like Yeah. So is it just him not being able to contend with the top guys anymore, or is he just not have it at all? So I think he looked okay in that Yadong fight. It's not like they're putting him away. He's going to decisions. He's not getting knocked out. He's not getting submitted. But for Talbot, it's kind of a similar story. I mean, I haven't seen, I think that Gamori fight, I think is when people, well, I mean, social media already liked him before, but then, I mean, you have a knockout like that in the first round, in like the first couple seconds, or in the first round, it's, that created more hype, and then it went away when he fought Barcelos. He looked like he didn't belong. He did not belong at all. It's I would imagine, because we haven't seen Cejudo lose 3 times in a row. I would imagine he does what you say, and he's gonna go wrestling heavy. He has to put his ego aside. He's not gonna be able to strike. I would assume he has to go with your back against the wall career-wise. You have to go to where you would think you'd have the advantage.
And when you listen to Cejudo behind the scenes breakdown fights, I mean, he's a very smart guy. He's very analytical in the way he approaches fights. And you would think that would play a part in his game planning and his preparation. And sometimes I feel like I don't see that. And I don't understand why, because when he's breaking down everybody else's fights, he seems to understand and see all angles. He gets it, but then he comes in and then it's more Cejudo, which normally is okay. But for some reason, I don't know if they, sometimes when guys have got it figured out, when guys just look like a wrecking machine and nobody knows them, then there's that one guy that figures it out. And then everybody's like, oh, that's what we need to do. And then everybody else just kind of more or less implements the same game plan and picks that guy apart. I feel like that's what we're kind of seeing with Cejudo. It's like, is he just old news at this point? Can he not get another win? I mean, this is a really interesting fight in a lot of ways because Cejudo being the former champ, still being ranked, Peyton having really nothing more than a lot of hype behind him, 1-2 in his last two fights. It's a very interesting fight, and it's interesting for that alone, right? Is it just his star power, whatever that may be, what got him here? And it, I don't know if it makes sense for Peyton, but it doesn't really make sense for Cejudo in the sense that, is it really because there's nobody else for him to fight? Is he basically one loss away from losing a ranking? I don't even want to say necessarily getting cut. I think he's still too big of a name to get cut, but for being the number 10 guy and fighting an unranked guy, what does that say about the big wigs behind the scenes, how they view Henry and his placement in this whole landscape,
It'd be tough to see him lose. Again, I don't think he gets cut, but then you really have some serious conversation. We've lost 4 in a row. You lost to an unranked guy. The guys behind you are David Martinez, Rob Font, Vinicius Oliveira, Kyler Phillips, Marcus McGee. It's not an incredibly deep division. So what would you do? Does he become, he used to be a champ, main card, co-main at worst, and now he's early on the main card. You can see him on a fight night possibly. But again, we're both stuck on this. But it's time for Sharp's pick. Siege, who comes out of this one here in the bantamweight division?
Dude, I don't like it because I'm telling you right now, I literally don't know. This is the fight I've been thinking about the most out of everybody else on this card. I feel like this is, man, okay. We gotta pick it. Shit. Dude, I'm gonna go with Henry, even though he's the I'm not just trying to pick all the underdogs here. Henry should get it done. Henry is good enough. He has the experience. He should get it done. And if he comes in and does what he's supposed to do, and he comes in with that wrestling, I think he's gonna dominate. I don't feel great about that pick. Honestly, I really don't know how to feel, but Henry should get it done. He better get it done.
You just look at what Cejudo, who he's fought. It's like, how does he not get it done, Siege?
Come on, man.
It's incredible. You're talking about the 3-year layoff he took was, again, like you said, a devastation towards his career because of what he could have been. Truly, you're talking about a guy like Demetrius Johnson, a top 5 MMA guy of all time. And Cejudo was able to avenge his previous loss and beat him. Mm-hmm. With that being said, I'm going Peyton Talbot.
Okay.
I'm going Talbot.
So, I can't wait for Tally this up.
I'm seeing something in Felipe and Lima, the Felipe Lima fight, where he was able to stuff takedowns, and not only stuff a takedown, it was his ability to get up quick. Lima was never able to get a hold of him. He got up quick and have some ground and pound on his own. And like you said, I think there's something behind Cejudo going off a game plan. We just haven't seen it. Where even Cejudo, where he does have a little bit of advantage, maybe he does steer off. I think he should, because I think that his wrestling is goes superior than Lima's. But does he stick to that plan? And I think I saw enough from him against Felipe Lima where he was able to get up and be tough to hold down and just stuff takedowns and supply some ground and pound of his own. He had a little bit more. Even we saw in round 3 where he had some ground and pound and actually being offensive on the ground. But now if Cejudo can kind of retain back to prime Cejudo, it's a completely different story. Now we're having a different conversation. But I saw enough in Talbot, and it's a mixture of hype in Talbot and also just question marks over Cejudo. I'm not bought on Talbot, but I'm also not bought on Cejudo. I'm not bought on who Henry Cejudo is.
It's a tough one. It's a toss-up. I really don't know how to feel about it.
As equal as you are questioning on your pick, I'm not feeling great on mine. But I will say, feeling good about 2 different picks. It gives me an opportunity to really make up some ground here maybe. But we'll see. We'll see. And this is another one that I'm having more issues on this one, honestly, than I was even on the last one. Brandon Moreno, the assassin baby, taking on Tatsuro Taira, a guy 25 years old, young, fun, looks to be the next new thing, but can he do it against the assassin baby who's been there, tried and true? Woo! Siege, help me out here.
Dude, and I love Brandon Moreno, man. I really, really do. The dude, put the fighting aside, the dude seems like an absolute sweetheart outside of the cage. You know, when he's in there, he's a complete savage. He's a killer, the assassin, right? But yeah, man, I really, really like Brandon Moreno, man. I love his stand up. I love his approach to fighting. And Tatsuro, this dude, he feels like the next generation coming in, the next
Yeah,
wave, you know? We
no
see a
doubt.
lot of, Japanese fighters coming in over the last couple of years and they're just, hey.
Let's go, baby.
And
Japanese.
yeah, man, they're looking dangerous, man, you know?
Yeah,
They do lose, they lose here and there, but
yeah,
they look good, man. And this guy really feels like the next generation of guys coming in, well rounded, well prepared in every single fight. I mean, Tetsuro's only, I don't remember if it's his only loss or his only loss in the UFC is to Royval in a
right,
fight that I thought he was actually looking pretty good in for most of the fight.
right.
And that was a huge step up in competition at the time. Up until that point, he really didn't have a big name, big names on his, record. That was his first really big one that people kind of took notice to. And, yeah, he had some great wins, but that was the big one. And even with that loss, I think that really set him up and propelled him, and it kind of showed that he's ready for this. He's ready for this next, top 10, top 15 guys. And he's still in the conversation. So he took that loss on the chin, came back strong. And obviously, you know, the powers to be like what they're seeing because now here he is with number two, Brandon Moreno, who is always dangerous, always game, man. I've never seen a boring Moreno fight. He's always got a smile on his face, whether he's punched or getting punched. I mean, he always puts on a show for us.
It's super exciting to watch Brandon Moreno fight. I just love the energy he brings. Like you said, like he's the assassin baby. Like it's just like that just
Right.
fits his character so well. It's tough to call Tatsuro
Is
Taira.
it because, real quick, is that because he's a baby assassin or is assassin, comma, baby? I'm the assassin, baby.
I really don't know.
Maybe I'm overthinking it, but I don't know, right? Like, what is it supposed to be like tongue in cheek and kind of cute? Well, anyway, sorry, besides the point.
Yeah, now I'm all thinking about if there's, should there be I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know what he's intending there. Anyways, that's a good question. But talking about Taira is you can tell how much the fight makers believe in Taira because you lose to Royval, you beat Hyung Sung Park, and then you get Brandon Moreno. Like they throw you right back in the den. Like again, you look great against Royval. Hyung Sung Park is fun, another exciting guy, but he's not necessarily Brandon Moreno's level. And then one
Right.
victory is like, okay, all right, cool, you're back at the top of the division. So that just shows how exciting that they are. I mean, he's so well-rounded. I mean, you have 5 knockouts, 8 submissions, and 17 victories. You're 7-1 in the UFC. It's time for him
Yeah.
to start climbing those rankings. But again, not that Moreno's in the same position as Blachowicz, but the Moreno shows that the division still runs through him. You see him take care of guys like you have Steve Erceg, Amir Albazi, both those guys who looked like they might be the next thing. I know a lot of people have been telling me when I go live is, hey, I think Steve Erceg beats Pantoja. A lot of people are really high on him, and Moreno's like, hey, like not so fast. The division is still
Yep.
in my hands. It's a really tough one to call. I like Amir Albazi too. He was a slight favorite there. I kind of expected that one to be a little bit closer, but Moreno's just so fluid. He's just so fun to watch. It's going to be interesting to see, though. We got 2 top guys in the flyweight siege. Who gets one step closer to the flyweight number 1 contender spot?
I'm gonna say what I said with the last fight. I'm not trying to trend here and, stick to a certain game plan. I'm just looking at these fights individually and how I feel about them. I'm going with Tyra I believe to be the upset here, right? He is the underdog here.
He is a slight favorite, actually. He's the minus 125
One.
versus the 1 plus 105 to Moreno.
Okay, my bad, my bad. Okay, so I'm going with the favorite on this one. I feel even with that loss, I still like what I saw in Tyra, and I feel like he's only getting better and he's winning handily. Even with that loss, he's looking really good. Not that I believe that Moreno is going to be outclassed here. I think it's going to be an absolute war, but I'm picking Tyra on this one.
I love Tyra, man. I love him. I love him. But I like Brandon Moreno even more. I love Brandon Moreno. I think he's again, a guy who's been there. Another guy who lost to Royval, which also shows how good Royval is, right? But he loses to Royval, Pantoja, and Figgy. And then he overcomes the Figgy victory. I think that the division still runs through him. I think Moreno is still hoping for one more run at the title. I love Tatsuro though. Hey, the 50% Japanese in me. I mean, wants to stand strong for my boy Tyra, right? It's half of me, but then man, everything else is pointing for Brandon Moreno. I love Brandon Moreno. I think he's so fun. It's just he mixes it up well, and every time I seem to doubt him and maybe think he's going down, the guy's only 31 years old still. He's done
young.
everything. He's fought. I mean, back when the Figgy fight, way back when. And yet looking back all those years, and he's still only 31 years old. You know, he's not old. He's still at the prime, end of his prime years, but still the main word in there is prime. I think he's still there. I think Moreno can get this one done, but I've been feeling it's like I'm not incredibly confident in this one. But
I do not like the way these picks are going because right now, if I'm 0-3, you've got me. So yeah. I like that we've got some parity because, sometimes it's a little boring. We're picking the same guys, but holy shit, I'm nervous because I don't have another card to make this up with. So damn it. All right. We'll just have to see, man.
It's working out.
I need at least 2 to maintain my lead right now.
Yes.
If I only get 1, then we're tied. So shit, we're just going to have to see how this goes.
This is huge. This is huge for me. And, the thoughts in my mind, okay, am I going to have to, play the other one? But so far it's working out. I love my picks. I think that I feel good about them.
Okay.
And it's interesting because the co-main, once you step foot in the co-main, I can't tell how we're going to feel. I feel like we've been thinking similarly when it comes to co-main and main events throughout the year. These ones are going to be interesting, though. I think that they're going to be a lot of fun, a lot of hype coming into a lot of these guys. You have the number one contender, Joshua Van, 15-2. The slight underdog, really, really close, plus 185 to the minus 225, Alexandre Pantoja. Banger of a fight. Flyweight belt on the line here. We could see the number one contender fighting earlier in Moreno and Tyra. But man, Siege, for the belt, flyweight. Let's talk about it.
Dude, regardless of who I decide to go with in this fight, I am super excited for Van and just happy for him, man. I mean, to get this sort of opportunity, that really just goes to show why you need to show up, And what do they say? Luck is when preparation meets opportunity. All of this went down because of a short notice fight with Royval that nobody was even looking at him for. They're like, all right, they just had to throw somebody in there with him. And he came in and lit it up, dude. He set that whole arena on fire. Such a fun fight. And coming from a seemingly deserving guy, he's really humble, down to earth, hungry, young and up and coming. So regardless of how this pans out, I am so happy that a guy like that is getting this opportunity. And I would love to know the conversations that happened behind the scenes in making this fight. I get it. I mean, everybody was hyped up on him after the Royval fight. And that is a big name, but there's so many other guys between Royval and Pantoja, and how the hell he got to leapfrog all of them. I mean, it's just amazing. So cool. The underdog story, it's amazing. I don't know how that panned out, but happy for him, man. But dude, it's going to be a great fight, regardless of how this turns out. From everything we've seen from Van, he's a striker. He's game. He's a dog. He comes in. He's ready to throw down. And you have to put him out, right? He's not going to come in and just lay down for anybody, even if you're the 3-4 time defending champ, whatever the case may be. but then you still have to look at it and understand he's standing across the octagon from Pantoja. And that is scary. I don't care what weight division you're in. Pantoja dominates, man. Early on in his career, even when he was winning, it was easy to kind of underestimate him. And, I don't really know, but from everything he's done at this point, I think he's basically shut up all doubters. Nobody's speaking up against him at this point. And it's going to be a tall task for Van in a couple of weeks.
It's interesting to see how Van's going to do because, I mean, but first, he's 24 years old. He's so exciting. And you kind of hinted at the output that he involves. I mean, he has almost 9 significant strikes per minute. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, he's constantly moving. He doesn't seem to gas out. Like, I mean, that war with Royval, again, that put him truly on the map. I think everyone from there, I was like, and again, that just shows how much weight Royval has to his name as well, that after that, he was able to get a title shot. Because, again, you talk about Brandon Moreno, who's coming off 2 wins as well. He just beat Urseg and Albizi. So it's like, man, like, he beat two contenders in Amir as well. So it's like, okay, that's probably the number 1 contender. And then he comes in, short notice fight, has like one of the fights of the year against Royval. It's like, all right, you're fighting for the belt next. It's unbelievable. Again, you talk about the story, you talk about the energy. I mean, he's a guy I think everyone's kind of rooting for. He's so fun. But then you talk about the guy on the other side in Pantoja. I mean, just a dominant champ, makes it look easy. He's had some tough fights there. There's been some close ones. 35 years old now. There are a little bit of question marks. How does it look? Wow. I mean, there's so much going on.
Yeah. And that is an interesting point too, right? We talked about all the guys that he got to get by. And it almost kind of feels like Moreno kind of got dogged a little bit here too. But they're probably tired of seeing Moreno in that spot, because if he's not fighting the number 1 guy, he's fighting the champion, and he's winning, and losing some and getting the belt and losing the belt and getting the belt. And maybe that's all it came down to, maybe it's, Van had an exciting fight. Let's give somebody else a shot. We know sooner or later Moreno's going to work his way back up to a title shot again, regardless. And maybe it takes somebody like Van potentially dethroning to give him an opportunity, because it's like, if he keeps beating up all the guys that are coming up, then when are they going to ever get a shot? We kind of saw the same thing happening with Max, right? Where like, there's no way Max gets another shot, but then you keep giving him these number 1 contender fights and he's whooping all these guys' ass, and you're like, all right, we'll give it another shot. So it's like, you gotta let somebody kind of take a detour and get around him for a second, because Moreno's a scary guy.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, man, I really don't know. I've coming into it, I felt very one-sided. And just as we've gotten closer, I'm like, wait a second. I'm watching more videos. I'm like, man, dude, this is close. This is close. Yeah. It is a tough one to call. It is time to call it, though, Siege. It is time to call. Let's do some sharp picks here. Who comes out there? Are we going to hear and new or and still here after the co-main of UFC 323?
I am going with and still. With all those things I said about Van, and again, I love this form. It's a great opportunity. Everything I've seen from Pantoja up until this point tells me that he's not done yet. He's still too hungry. He has too much of a lead on these other guys in the division for them to bridge that gap. And even with an impressive win over Royval, Van just might be too young at this point in his career to get it done. Pantoja, he's seen it all. He's faced the who's who and every killer out there. I don't know if Van is ready yet. One day he might be, but I don't know if today's that day.
I'm in complete agreement. I'm going Pantoja as well. Hey, we got one the same. Look at that.
There we go.
It's
okay.
The other way around. Usually we're thinking very similar, but I like that. I'd rather have only one similar. Let's make this thing fun.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I have to go with you in the same direction. I love Van. I think he's a really fun striker. I think if he were to come up short, there's so many fun fights for him at flyweight. My goodness. I mean, there's so many fun bouts. I mean, you talk about, again, he should get the title fight next if he does get the win, but imagine a fight between Van and Moreno. I mean, there's so many flyweight, right? I mean, the list goes on. So, I mean, he's 24 years old. I think he's just going to be too young. And yes, he's going to be grappling all camp. You better believe it. It's not enough. It's not enough when you face a guy like Alexandre Pantoja. And he's just.
I think it takes more than a camp, and that's the way I feel about most fights. It's like if you see something and fighters have certain tendencies, it takes more than a camp to erase that. Unless you're our samurai buddy, that dude he changes. Yuri seems different every single fight. I don't know what the hell he's doing when he's out there in the woods training and flipping swords or whatever, but. It takes more than a cat, man. And I don't think this is going to be it for Van. Think he's going to take this loss. Think he's going to learn from it. And I'm going to be really excited to see him going forward after this. Think he's going to learn a lot from this fight.
Yeah. And the odds are kind of crazy. Plus 180 is very, very close. But again, just looking at it stylistically, right? I mean, you have guys like Royval, who was a war. You have Urseg. Asakura, right? We thought he was going to be a lot. Kai Kara France, again, another fun striker. They just don't stand the test that Pantoja has being so well-rounded. Just stylistically, I think it's a rough look for our boy Joshua Van. And another very dominant champ as you look at this main event. Really excited about this one. I mean, first of all, let's set the stage. You got the contender, Petr Yan. Petr Yan, guy who is one knee away from having his career look completely different, right? If he was dominating Aljamain Sterling, the illegal knee, and his career completely changed. I thought he beat O'Malley. Just a guy whose career could look completely different with a lot of few differences. He takes on another dominant champ in Merab Dvalishvili. A banger siege. Petr Yan has looked so good in his last couple bouts. He gets another chance at the belt. He's hungry. Merab's always hungry. All yours.
Such a weird path this guy's taken too, huh? Since losing the belt. It's been so bizarre. He lost the belt in a weird way in a fight that we thought for sure he was winning. And, we gave Sterling such a hard time. We're like, there's no way that rematch, Sterling's dead. And they rematch and he gets dominated and you're like, what the fuck am I watching right now? It didn't make sense. And then then he loses to a guy, you think on the feet, nobody beats Yan, right? And then we see him lose to O'Malley. And then, and it's like, it just keeps adding up and you're like, dude, when you see him, he's a dangerous guy. And so I don't even understand how we're seeing these losses that we've seen, but as you said, his last few fights, he really picked it up. He's back to his winning ways and he's putting them together, man. And then you remember that he's fighting Merab and they call him the machine for a reason. And we talk about fight camps, right? And, being able to bridge a gap. I feel like we're going to see a lot more of what we saw in the first fight. With the only caveat being is that somehow Merab seems to get better, and which I don't even know how to explain that or how to verbalize what I'm seeing. But I know that he's better, but I'm not really sure why. He's doing more of the same thing. It's a lot of forward pressure, a lot of just cardio and just wearing guys out. And he somehow seems to get better at doing that. He's not really doing anything new. Same thing like with Yan, right? We don't see Yan really doing anything new. He's doing more of what Yan always does. And, it's a winning recipe for both guys. But when they clash, we've kind of seen how that played out before. And, Merab's just a machine, man. Like I stopped doubting Merab like 3 or 4 fights ago, early on when I was like, oh, maybe this is the guy. Maybe that's the guy. Merab he's just a beast.
It's just, I love Yan. I love what Yan can do. Striking so fun. I mean, again, just like watching him shadow box is just so fun. His hands are incredible. His ground game's gotten a little bit better. It's so tough, right? And it's hard to even talk about this fight without giving up our picks. So let's just go ahead and get
Right,
into
right,
that
right.
before I just give up my pick. So let's just go ahead and do sharp picks. I kind of feel like I know how we're gonna go there, but just so we can kind of go a little bit more in depth. So go ahead, Siege. The main event here, Petr Yan. Again, the fight odds look pretty one-sided. The plus 350 for Yan, minus 500 for the machine. Do you see it the same way?
We could just do it on three. I'm sure we're going to hear echoes over here, but we could do it on three. We could just go 1, 2, 3. Merab.
Merab. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's that easy. You know, I think when you talk about the machine, it's just too much. And I feel like with him, his pick, and let me know if you're feeling any different. I think when it comes to Pantoja and when it comes to Merab, I'm going to pick them until they show me otherwise. I just feel like you can keep doubting them, but they're having such dominant wins. I really don't have a choice but to pick them.
Yeah. And, sometimes, especially with champs, they continue to win, but you could kind of see holes in their game starting to develop or slowing down. And sometimes it's not the case. Sometimes it's just really definitive and you're like, oh, they're done, But either way, I haven't seen any of that from either of these guys. There's nothing in their past fights leading up to now that tells me that they're done. And I don't even know how you maintain that hunger, For a lot of guys, that's kind of where they falter. They win it and they're kind of like, all right, what else can I be doing now? But these guys still come out and they seem hungrier and hungrier every fight. And I feel like that's the thing legends are made of, and these guys, they're having legendary careers right now. And I think it won't, in the coming years, we're going to be talking about these guys in the vein of John Jones or GSP or Anderson Silva. They're having that kind of run right now where it's like, how does anybody else stack up in the division? It feels just like shark bait, you're just throwing in, just feeding them to the wolves, So yeah, man. And not to say that I don't love Yan I think in most other fights, I would pick Yan if it was anybody else standing across from him. But yeah, when you got Merab there, yeah, you'd be dumb not to go any other way.
Yeah, I feel like Merab is running on a lot of people's GOAT rankings. I feel like he's just continuing to climb. I mean, and it's not just the dominance, but it's the activity. He fought October 4th against Corey Sandhagen, and here he is again. And what does he have to prove? Well, I mean, I feel like if he wasn't fighting on this year, I'd be like, Merab is one of the greatest, if not the greatest bantamweight of all time. Already saying that, and here he is again, fighting a couple months later. He's staying active. I feel like that's one of the even more fun things that people love Merab for is that the greatest hang out. I've kind of completed everything I can fight once a year, and you're still going to call me one of the greatest. That's not Merab's mentality. It's absolutely unbelievable.
No. He's almost got ADHD, man. I feel like he doesn't know what else to do with himself if he's not fighting. Like he has to be doing this, and he loves it. And it shows when he's in there, he's having a great time. He can say, you've seen him eat a knee and just smile ear to ear. Like, okay, don't worry. I'll get that back. The dude, he's fun to watch, man. It's no surprise why he has this fanfare and this excitement every time he's on a card.
He has too much fun. I mean, he's getting backpacked by Umar Nurmagomedov, and he's getting backpacked him, and he's like doing this. He's like, "Oh, you can't take me down. You can't take me." Like, and he's just smiling, like, that's Umar. That's not some non-ranked guy, not a mid-rank. That's a Nurmagomedov camp, and he's treating him like he's just
scary guy, scary camp. Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Well, I mean, see,
and I can't wait for that rematch. We have to get that soon. I can't wait for that. You got to give other guys a shot, but yeah.
That's the one fight I want to see. So real quick, before we wrap it up, how do you think a fight would go between, Pantoja doesn't want to move up, but if in whatever world they have a catchweight bout or it does go to 135, who wins between Merab and Pantoja? It's a tough one. I wanted to throw that on you. I've been thinking that because I feel like other than Umar, there's nobody really left for either of them stylistically. But man, what a war that would be.
It would be a war. I'm trying to play that out of my head and what I think that looks like. God, I feel like that's one of those dream matches that will, I mean, obviously, the odds of seeing that are pretty slim. Mm-hmm. But man, I mean, I would almost, only because the only way I could see that happening is Pantoja going up. Uh, Merab isn't a big guy, but he just seems so stocky. I don't know how he loses any weight to go down
Yeah.
to, with that alone, I feel like he would get it. If I had to pick that fight, if that fight was happening next weekend, I think I would have to pick Merab in that fight. If it were to go down like that, if Pantoja were to move up to his division, just because that pace is blistering. Not that Pantoja has any problem with his gas tank. We haven't seen that. Um, just that grappling, man. They're both grapplers, but Merab feels leagues above everybody. And while we're talking about this weird hypothetical stuff, why is it that you think that we don't get to see a lot of these grappling bouts that everybody's thirsting for? I feel like we see the striking ones against the top guys way more often than the grappling ones, and namely between the Russian fellows, whether Dagestani or Russian or, whatever other part of Russia. There's only two I know off the top of my head, but why is it that you think we don't get to see that? Why doesn't it kind of feel like you're keeping these guys apart, so to speak?
Yeah, I feel like we rarely get like I feel like the one that recently comes to mind as far as big super fights of these go was that jiu-jitsu versus wrestling between Islam and Dubronx. We're like, okay, how does it go? We were hoping, again, and we talked about this in the last time, we were hoping
Yeah.
that Bo Nickel, Paul Craig would be a grappling just masterclass. That was a snooze fest. But yeah, we don't get too many bangers like that where it's like, man, we're going to watch these two guys. Brian Ortega, Aljo was supposed to be another one, whereas more of that. But yeah, we haven't gotten, unless I'm
No, I
missing.
feel like the closest we've gotten as far as guys from that region, because even with guys like that, when I talk about like just the grappling dominance, the closest thing we got was Nurmagomedov and Merab, and
Yeah,
that lived up to the hype. It was a
yeah,
great fight. But when you think about an Islam or any of the other guys in his camp and Hamzat or Hamzat and Bo Nickel or any of these guys that we know are gonna, or not that we know because Bo just, shot all that to shit, but the guys that we think that should come in and have a very grappling heavy style, I feel like we
right.
never get to see that. Even when Usman was up there, and even Usman, I felt like towards the end of his career, or not towards the end because he's still fighting, but the latter part of his fighting career, it felt like he was a lot more strike heavy.
Yeah,
He would threaten the takedown here or there, but I don't feel like we saw it as much. And even, yeah, I mean, I guess we did get him and Shemaev, and that was, he got dominated pretty handily there, but he wasn't really doing that. He wasn't doing what Khabib and Islam and these other guys that we feel like we know what they're going to do. I feel like we don't get to see those very often.
and it wasn't the same Kamaru Usman. It wasn't the same Kamaru Usman that beat Tyron Woodley.
Right. Right.
It wasn't quite the same. But yeah, that would have been a great. I mean, to see a guy like Usman in his prime when he was fighting like when he beat Woodley, fight a guy like Shemaev. Because I mean, you saw Usman held his own a little bit, right? Usman held it better than a lot of other guys. Just so okay, let me throw one more hypothetical at you, and we keep running this clock up here. But what would happen if they did a catchweight bout between Islam and Shemaev? What the
That's
heck
the,
happens there?
dude, that would sell so hard at any weight class, no belt. It doesn't matter. Oh my God. Just I feel like the buzz that would bring. I don't know why you keep those two guys apart. Or no, I guess from a business sense, I guess I get why you keep them apart because their star power is so big
You would kill one
that,
of them.
right. Yeah. You tarnish somebody's, cause somebody has to lose. What would I don't know. I don't know. I can tell you what I would pick there because Islam has showed a propensity to like to strike, which I don't always love when he's going against strikers, but I mean, it's not a problem, because he's a great striker. It's just like, I want to see him do what Habib, I want to feel safe when I watch Islam and I want to see him do what Habib did, which is he wasn't going to play with the hands a whole lot. It was always just to set up the takedown and you couldn't do anything about it, even though you knew it was coming. Shemaev is gonna just take you down and ragdoll you, and it's like, God, that would be so amazing. I don't know. We're never gonna get that. It'll never happen. I feel like the UFC is gonna do whatever they can, whatever's in their power to keep those two guys apart. But there's no reason why we should. They're only one weight class apart now. And Shemaev has no problem going down. I don't think Islam would have any problem going up, even if it was just a one-off fight or, like you said, a catchweight fight. But dude, I don't know what I would pick in that. I would just be there drooling. That'd be amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't beat it. I mean, I don't even know what card we're talking about at this point. Are we just on UFC 323? Man, there's so much fun fights to talk about.
Yeah.
So many fun hypotheticals. Maybe we do a segment where we do hypotheticals and we can have our own.
That'd be fun. That'd be fun.
I think we'll have to get that instilled as well as these breakdowns for UFC 323 Siege. As far as 323 goes, do you have anything else you want to lay out? Anything that you want to talk about before we hop off here for the night?
No. I'm just looking forward to 2026. I'm looking forward to how these cards are going to shape up. You know, we have the White House card coming up. We have the move to Paramount. I'm really interested to see what that looks like. I understand that it just means more access, and that's great for everybody. I'm just really curious to see how they're going to work all that and, and serve that up to us. So I'm really excited about this coming year.
It's kind of crazy. So even for me, watching it as young as I was, but you were, watching it before me, obviously. You watch it go through, Fox. You watch it go through ESPN. This is the last pay-per-view in UFC history. This is the last pay-per-view in UFC history. It is all going to be Paramount and everything, and it's going to go on all that streaming and stuff, and no more pay-per-views. This is it.
No more, which I'm excited about. I don't know why I don't feel fully excited. It shouldn't taint what it is. Taking down that paywall is great and it's exciting, and it's like, okay, we have access to it. I just really hope that it doesn't cheapen the overall product somehow, where it's just like, it's just there. We can watch it if we want, don't watch it if we don't want, but I really don't see that happening. And even further back than that, you were talking about Fox. I mean, I was watching it back in the Spike days. I don't even know if Spike is still around as a channel. But that's kind of where it started, where I just came across it accidentally. I was like, oh, this is some weird shit. That was with the first season of The Ultimate Fighter. Yeah, man, it's been a long, long ride. And just seeing them go to Fox and ESPN and all that's been so exciting I feel like those partnerships made sense because Fox has a sports background. ESPN obviously has a sports background. It's just it is so bizarre to see it on Paramount. But I didn't have a Paramount subscription before, but I will have one now. So I can't wait, man. I'm really curious to see how they package this whole thing and give it to us. And, we're going to be eating it up one way or another. So let's do it.
I mean, Paramount, I'm sure, just made a lot of money with how many UFC fans just paid for their streaming site. Well,
yeah. Well, they spent a lot, so they better, right?
Yeah. They're hoping it works out. They hope UFC stock keeps going up, up and up. But
hell yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us, man. That was another fun one. We'll see. If I'm able to make a comeback here. A little different picks.
Man, yeah, I am really, really nervous about this card because I have no ground to make up. So, yeah, I hope my upsets work out, dude. I really do. It's going to be interesting.
I have to go 2 out of 3. 2 out of 3, right? 2 out of 3 to tie? Because what I say,
2 out of 3 to tie. Yes. You need 2 out of 3 to tie, and you need all 3 to win.
We bring it home. Well, I'm excited to see it, Siege. I'm so excited. Right, I'm sure we'll watch it together, and now we're going to be having that one extra belief under there.
That layer,
This is going to have a little more energy, a little more animosity. I love it.
Yeah,
man. I love it. Well,
Siege, it's going to be a good one.
Again. Thank you guys for joining us. If you guys love UFC and talking UFC, you guys be sure to subscribe. Drop in the comments. Let us know who you have in this fight. Do you have the same picks as us, different, or whichever? Drop a follow, guys. And be sure to come out and join us. We'll be doing every single card next year. We're not going to miss one. And we will be back on track. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us for UFC 323. And we'll see you guys next time.